Every day, you wake up with a choice. Stay the same, or fight. Join me as I dive into the stories of high achievers who have faced obstacles head-on and emerged stronger. We'll explore the principles that guide their lives, the strategies that built their success, and the faith that keeps them grounded. This is the Apex Mindset, where we understand what it takes to win, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And where we don't just talk about the fight, we live it. Hope, grit, endurance. This is where it all comes together. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the new and improved podcast. Previously known as the Lion's Den, we are now called the Apex Mindset. A little bit about that change. So it's now 2025. It's a new year, new resolutions, new things. But for the podcast, it's a new season. Why switch? Why make the change? Number one, and this is really the key part of it, is honestly marketing. Lion's Den was a pretty saturated name. There was a lot of people called the Lion's Den, and it made it kind of difficult to find us. So we decided to just kind of, see if there's something better out there. And won't lie to you, I've used ChatGPT extensively to kind of get some ideas, get some thoughts, get some of the balls rolling, and kind of settled on this one that called the Apex Mindset. So kind of fits with the lion theme still. We can kind of keep the idea and philosophy of it. And maybe in the future we'll have a video about why the Apex Mindset, why that name. For right now I don't have a ton of time, so I'm not going to dive too deep into it. But basically, to give you the solid gist, this podcast is all about really helping you achieve your peak, get you to the point from point 0 to 100%, your prime, 100% your prime performance, your peak performance. That has been my vision since day one starting this podcast, and I'm really going to be pushing for that this year. And this is going to be a really good journey. There's a few changes that are going to occur. Nothing major, but some new focuses for this new podcast, this new name, this new mission. The first and foremost is kind of a little bit obvious. You're going to be seeing a lot more of me. I've really been feeling inspired to kind of share my journey. This is something that I just never have done before. I'm not really a big social media poster. I don't publish everything in the world. I've done a little bit, if you followed along, you can tell that, but this is kind of a new thing for me. But I really feel inspired to just kind of share my experiences, share my life, share my journeys, share my spiritual journey, share my mental journey, things that I've learned, maybe, see what happens, what comes about. I really think that I've been through a lot, and, maybe there's some areas where people who are going through the same things, the same struggles, can learn from, or maybe just get inspired by seeing somebody, kind of a no-name, so to speak, push through things, and give them the motivation to also be able to push through things by watching me do it. If that's kind of what gives you motivation. What's kind of coming up for this new season, like I said, is it's going to be a lot more solo episodes. I'm going to try and put one out maybe once a month. We'll kind of talk a little bit about that here a little bit.
Yeah.
And also I'm going to be focusing a lot more on community. There's a lot of people out there who really need somebody to talk to, somebody to be inspired from. There's a lot of trash out there on social media, to be honest. Social media's kind of just been not a very good spot lately in the last couple of years. And we're a really small channel, but what I can do right now with the people that are watching is try and change that. Part of that mission is to build a little bit of a community, maybe that other people can inspire other people. That was the whole mission with Facebook when Facebook decided to create groups, was that we can come together as a community, talk about our struggles, talk about our challenges, and encourage one another really put an emphasis on growing together. And Bible says that we should iron sharpens iron, and I'm a firm believer in that. Part of why you're going to see more of me, and part of why I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on building the community a little bit. Don't think it's going to result in a community group anytime soon, but if you're interested and you really want me to do that, would love to hear your thoughts. Would love to hear some input. Also, don't feel afraid to tell me what you think. Tell me if there's some things that you would like to see more of. I'm all ears. This whole podcast is not for me, it's for other people. So whatever I can do to help it be better, then I'm excited to do that. That's part of the new mission. That's part of the new journey with the Apex mindset. And that's part of adopting the Apex mindset also, is learning that the things that you are good at, the gifts and abilities that God has given you, are much less for you and more for other people. So it's kind of a little bit about that. This is the first episode of a new series that I'm going to be starting called From Couch to Champion. So what on earth is that? A little bit about that. I am, in September, going to be joining into a 5K race. For some people who do a lot of running, that kind of sounds like, oh, I do 5K every week. That's nothing. These people that are pushing marathons every month. Doesn't seem like that big of a challenge, but for me, that's a really big deal. I've never really ran much, but something in me just kind of clicked, and I really wanted to do this. I really wanted to do a 5K. So this series is going to document my training and my journey from being a couch potato to becoming a champion. Right now, at the level that I'm at, I'm doing a little bit of running, but nothing to be considered anything relevant. So this is going to basically, we're going to be tracking my journey. I'm going to be looking at the struggles that I faced, the challenges, the victories. You're going to share in my victories, and you're going to just kind of see the bird's eye view, third-party perspective of my whole from 7-month journey from going from couch to becoming a champion, hopefully. So a little bit about this challenge. Let's talk about that. What made me take on this 5K challenge? Why do this whole series? What's the point? First and foremost, honestly, is I wanted to adopt the identity of becoming a runner. What does that mean? In science, and I'll try and find some... Science has proven that one of the biggest things that help motivate us is not just saying that we're going to do something, but becoming the thing that we want to do. There's something to be said about being the person that you want to become, seeing that, visualizing that. That really digs into visualization, which is picturing the person that you want to be as if you were already there doing it. That's kind of what I'm doing in a sense. So I'm not just going to be, I'm not just going to say, I want to run 1 mile. I want to run 2 miles. I don't want to just run. I want to be a runner, because that's going to help push me. That's really going to help push me become a runner, become the person that I want to become, which is somebody who succeeds, somebody who disciplines themselves, and somebody who can go from, in 7 months, go from, 0 to 100%. This is really the big thing for this whole challenge, is that I want to become a runner. Another part of that is I want to grow in areas that I'm weak in. Part of growth is understanding that everybody has weaknesses. I have weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses. Nobody is 100% perfect unless you're Jesus, but nobody's Jesus, right? So you got to understand where you're weak. You got to understand the struggles that you have, the challenges that you face. For me, a lot of that is, in the past few months, I've really kind of slacked a lot. And I say that kind of big and heavy, but to be honest, I really have. And in my mind, I have not pushed myself to the level that I know I can achieve, mentally, spiritually, physically, all of the above. So doing this is going to help build my discipline. It's going to help build my endurance, and it's definitely going to help build my resilience to challenges. The more I succeed, the more I overcome things, the easier it's going to get. Which means that when storms come along later on, I'll have an easier time with them. There's been a lot of things that have come about that have really been tough. Things that are just some pretty big storms, and they've been difficult to deal with, and I've allowed myself to kind of accept it in a way. I wouldn't say depression, because clinically it's probably not, but I basically decided to not try anymore, just give up, go through life, go through the motions, wake up, do things that I normally do, go through my routine, my morning routine, my daily routine, my nightly routine, go to bed, wake up the next day, do it all over again. And what that's created is that's kind of recreated a stronghold in my mind where I've started to kind of feel like I can't do things, that I can't accomplish anything. I can't do this. I can't do that. And it's created a lot of fear too. Fear of what's to come, fear of, things going on around me, just constant fear of the unexpected. And that's not good. That's not good. So doing this is a way for me to get out of that funk and show myself that I can. I want to adopt the I can mentality. What is the I can mentality? Basically, what I'm doing is I'm proving to myself that the things that I once thought that were impossible become possible. I succeed in the areas that I never thought I could succeed in. If I can go from literally a couch potato to a winner of a 5K race in 7 months, doesn't sound too hard, but I guarantee you it's going to be probably one of the most challenging things that I've ever done in my life. If I can do that, though, if I can win, then imagine how many other things I've not allowed myself to do that I can do. If I adopt the I can mentality of nothing is really truly impossible unless you put your mind to it, if you put your mind to it and really push for it, then I find out that I'm the only one holding myself back. And if that's the case, I don't want to hold myself back anymore. I want to succeed. I want to be this person that I have created in my mind. And the only way to do that is to adopt the I can mentality. Do it, succeed at it, do it again, succeed at it again, continue to prove myself wrong, because I know that I can now. And when challenges come, when struggles come, when storms breeze by, I know that there's no way that I can't succeed anymore, because I've done it 100 times, 400 times, whatever you want to say. So that brings me to kind of this whole episode and this whole challenge a little bit. Why am I publicly sharing this 5K journey? We're kind of in a world now where everybody wants to be an influencer, and everybody's got a mindset of, if I can just get online, I can get some sponsorships, then I'm successful. Or, if I can get digital, if I can get appreciation from people online, if I can get respect from people online, then I've made it, right? There's a lot of people out there. I'm here to say that I have no desire to be an influencer. I just want to be an influence. I want people to be inspired by the life that I'm living and the journey that I'm on, and see that, hey, guess what? People struggle. I want you to see the grind work. I want you to see the hours that I put in. I want you to see the struggles that I face. I want you to see the challenges that it's going to take so that you too are inspired to overcome those yourself. If you see somebody, and let's be honest, everybody on social media is pretty much fake, right? I mean, you can't go 3 feet without somebody using a filter. Some kid's got a 8-pack abs, whatever the case may be, lifting 3,000 pounds. Maybe he can actually do that, but he never showed you how he got there, and he's just showing you the end result. I'm not only going to show you the end result, I'm going to show you the journey. Because if you can see that somebody can do it, who's just a normal nobody who lives, in the same state they live in, whatever you want to call it, then I believe and feel that maybe that'll motivate a lot of people and maybe help get other people out of that same funk that I was going through. Because it's serious and it's real. Another thing that sharing it online does is it forces me to commit. I'm kind of tricking my ADHD brain by saying, hey, guess what? There are people who are now relying on me to get this out there. There are people watching, so to speak. If I fail, you're going to know about it. And that's going to keep me accountable. That's going to force me to say, okay, you know what? If everybody's watching, I have to do this. I have to succeed now, because if I don't, not only are you going to see me fail, but I'm going to know that you see me fail. And if I know that you see me fail, then it's forcing me to push. It's forcing me to accomplish this. Now I want to, because if I don't, then people aren't inspired. The motivation for me is helping you, and that's a big key factor. And so it kind of forces me to commit to it. What it also does is, kind of going back to social media being kind of fake, it'll provide a backdrop for me to compare myself to. I'm a huge believer that you should never compare yourself to other people. That's going to create a big problem in your head where you want to be at somebody's success level, but you don't see the grind they went through. You don't see the struggle. You don't see the journey. All you see is the end result, right? And so you compare yourself to their end result, not realizing how much work it took to get there. And then you give up because you realize just how hard it actually is. But what you can do is you can compare yourself to you. Look back. It's okay to look backwards and see where you came from. See how far you've come. Big thing is, by me putting this stuff online, by me posting on social media, my journey, I can go back in there, even if nobody's watching. And that's okay. If nobody's watching, that's okay. What I can do, I can go back on there and I can see where I came from. I can look back and say, last month, if I'm feeling down or I'm feeling like, man, I'm just not getting anywhere, I can go back and I can say, look, last month I was running 2 miles. This month I'm running 4, right? I am doing something. I am accomplishing something. I am growing. And that's a big motivator. That's going to be a big key factor in avoiding burnout. And that's also going to be a big key factor in pushing me to keep going. Because there's going to be parts of this journey, and I'll be honest, that are probably going to get pretty mundane and are probably going to feel a lot heavier and are going to be hard. And I need that to be able to push myself past the level of burnout. I need that to be able to push myself past the level of giving up, right? I've already given up once. I know how it feels. It sucks. Sucks a lot. I don't want to do it again, So going back to the 5K race, what am I doing to train for this 5K race? I've talked a lot about the reason why I'm doing it. Now let me kind of go dig into the how, so to speak. So first and foremost, and I cannot stress this enough, this is number one, is research. I urge you that do not jump into something without doing your research. You have to build up that knowledge base of what you're wanting to do. You can't just get there from zero to wherever without actually knowing what you're doing. What that's going to do is that's going to create injury. You're going to be very prone to injury because you're not going to know what you're doing. You can hurt yourself. Number two, that's going to make things a lot more difficult. You're probably going to go around the mountain a few hundred more times because you don't know the shortcuts, you don't know the secrets, you don't know the success. You haven't experienced it, but you also have never researched it. So you really don't know what you're doing. So I 100% cannot stress how important it is to do your research, especially for something this short time frame, because again, you can really hurt yourself if you're not careful. I have personally done extensive research into running, into 5K racing, things like this. I am not going into this with a fresh mind. I can guarantee you that. I have, for probably the past year, kind of dipped my toe into it, and I have done some runs. I have done some things to prep myself. I'm not starting from ground zero completely. I'm going with the knowledge base of running. A little bit of that research. So let's talk about running specifically. So the first thing I kind of dove into was metrics, right? You can get lost in there are so many metrics you could look at: macronutrients, micronutrients, VO2 max, lactate, all that fun jazz. You can really get lost in it. So what matters in running? What really is important? This is probably going to get me in trouble because I'm not an expert, but in my opinion, the only things that really matter first and foremost is your macronutrients. So that's going to be protein, carbs, and fats. So think about it like this. Your proteins are going to be your recovery. Protein helps rebuild the muscles. It helps you recover. It helps grow things. The protein is your number one key factor when it comes to recovery. That's going to prevent injury. That's going to help you recover faster. So get sore less and stay sore less. That's how you say it. So you really need a high protein intake. And usually, as far as I know, the best metric for that is 1 gram of protein per pound of body fat. So if you're 185 pounds, that's about 185 grams of protein a day. So that's number one. Number two, in your macronutrients will be carbs. Now, this one is vitally important. Think of carbs as basically your energy. So there are healthy and there are unhealthy carbs, and I can dig into a whole episode on this, but I'm not going to. So the basic gist of it is carbs are your energy, right? You need carbs to have energy to be able to perform extensive. If you're going to go do a hard workout, you need a lot of carbs, and you need those carbs to digest before you jump into something, because if you don't, guess what? You're going to throw up, right? A lot of people like to work out fasted. Not me. I'm not that kind of person. I need the energy. This is also why they do pre-workout. You need your carb source. Where you get those carbs from kind of depends. Again, I would just do the research and figure out what your body can and cannot handle. It's all going to be based on what you can and cannot handle. Don't jump into it thinking, oh, I can eat whatever I want. Ethan came on here and said, eat rice, so I'm going to eat rice. If you're allergic to rice, don't do that. That's stupid, right? So just pay attention to your body, what your body is saying to you. It will tell you if it's working or if it's not working. And very important if you're going to be doing a running, especially the quick and long runs, so to speak, that I'm going to be doing, really vitally important that I get a good carb source. And my number one thing, what I've always kind of done, and I kind of talked about this. In fact, if you really are interested in this, go back to my episode with my stepdad, John Kelso. It's episode 1, very start, called Peak Performance. You can find it on the YouTube channel. We talk a lot about kind of macronutrients. We talk about all that. We talk about his journey. It's a very good episode if you want to kind of get a good idea of where you're headed. They kind of provide a base for all this. So like I said, I'm not going into this a dummy, right? So definitely need your carbs. And the third macronutrient that you really need to focus on is fats. So fats is basically going to be your body's slow burning fuel, right? So when your carbs run low, your body will start to burn your fat as fuel, as energy, right? It's going to tap into that resource. When you eat fat, it kind of stores that away as energy. And so basically what's going to happen is you run out of carbs. Your body says, oh no, we're out of carbs. We don't have any carb source to pull from for energy. So then it switches and then it pulls from your fats, right? So you need fats. You got to have fats. You got to have that stored away fat energy to pull from for when you're doing, especially if you're going to be doing a long distance run, like a marathon or a half or an ultra, whatever you're going to be doing, you've got to have that stored energy to be able to push that far. Because if you don't, your body's not going to have anything to pull from and you're going to burn out and you're going to crash, right? So not good. So you need fats. Now for what I'm doing for a 5K, it's not as relevant because I'm not going a long enough distance to where my body's going to convert and start burning fats. But think about it as this way is the easiest way to put it. The harder you're going to push, probably the more you'll need to think about having that fat storage. So definitely keep that in mind if you're going to follow along with me on this journey, which I encourage you to. Like I said, definitely keep that in mind. So after the macronutrients, the only two metrics, to me at least, the metrics that really matter in the sense of running, will be your pace. So that's basically the easiest way to explain that. Pace is minutes a mile. So 16 pace would be 16 minutes per mile. That's how long I'm running, right? You want to drop that, right? So for example, researching the race that I've researched, the last guy that won the race finished the 5K with an average pace of about 5:38 or something around that range, right? So my goal is to go from where I'm at now, my pace, which is right now pretty high. It's like 16 or 17 minutes a mile per mile, right? To 5:30, which is a very difficult thing to do, but not impossible. This is why it's a challenge, right? So keep an eye on your pace. You really want to drop that down. Also, when I'm racing, the pace is going to be a big factor. I'm going to always want to start out kind of slow in that first mile. Just kind of keep my energy levels high. Don't burn out right at the gate, right? Never do that. I'm going to start at a pace probably about 20 to 30% higher than my average pace, my normal, my average pace basically. And then I'm going to progressively get faster as I go along towards the end. And then right at the end, whatever I have left, push, right? That's at least the mentality of it. That's my goal. I've never done a race before, so we're going to find out if this even works. But this is based on the research I've done, this is where we're at. The next thing to think about is distance. How far are you going, right? Since I am doing a 5K, which is about 3.1 miles, my goal obviously is to ultimately be able to do 3.1 miles at a pace of 5:30, right? That's my goal, an average pace. So, but that doesn't mean when I'm training that I'm only going to push to about 3.1 miles. The farther you go, the more your body can efficiently burn and utilize the energy that you have to go a longer distance. If I can go way longer than 3.1 miles, and 3.1 miles is nothing, right? That's going to help me drop my pace because my body is now efficiently operating. So distance matters, especially if you're going to be going on a marathon or an ultra or whatever you're going to be doing. You know, that's a long distance. You got to think about that. You got to keep that in the back of your mind. You got to know how far you can go, how far you can handle. By the end of this journey, my goal is to get probably to about 10 miles. It seems like a lot. It is a lot. We'll get there. My max right now, from the running that I have done previously is about 6. But it's been a while, so we'll see. So that's the next one. The next metric is VO2 max. What that is basically that's your body's oxygen engine. So how much oxygen your body can use during exercise. So the higher and the bigger that your VO2 max is, the more efficiently it can run. So, you're going to want to improve the engine that fuels and operates your body. You want the oxygen to get throughout your bloodstream and whatnot to your brain and all that, and I'm not going to get all scientific about it, but basically you want to improve the functionality and the efficiency of your engine and your body, right? So I want to increase my VO2 max from where it is now to a higher state, because the bigger that it is, the better and faster I can run. And also that means that the less effort it's going to take for my body to run. So basically, these marathoners, their VO2 max is probably astronomically high, right? Because they can go 25 miles or more with minimal effort. Like I said earlier, a 5K is nothing to them because they've increased that VO2 max so high that it just doesn't take any effort anymore, right? That's my goal. I want to improve that. That's also why it's important to increase the distance of your mileage. You increase the mileage of your runs, right? The more miles you can run, the more efficiently you can run those miles, right? That's all going to be nutritional. That's also going to be just various runs throughout the period of time that you're training. So, incorporate some more long runs, incorporate some quick runs, whatever you got to do to increase that VO2 max. And again, I will stress, just do the research. See what you can figure out about how to improve that. The next metric I'm really going to be focusing on is your lactate threshold. If you've done any research in running at all, you've heard of this, right? So your lactate threshold, but basically, basic way to put that is your body, when you do anything hard that costs you a lot of energy, a hard workout, a hard run, whatever, your body is going to produce lactate. Easiest analogy to put that is basically you're filling up a sink with water, right? And eventually you have a point when that's just going to start overflowing, what I call your red line. So the harder you push, the harder you run, the more your lactate builds up. Eventually, the more you push, the harder you run, the more you're going to build up that lactate. Eventually you're going to redline, right? You're going to overflow. And when that happens, basically your body's going to run a whole lot less efficient. You're going to slow down, and you're way more prone to injury at that point. And just, it's not good to push past that point. Your body's not as efficient. You're not operating at your maximum potential, so to speak. What you want to do is increase that lactate threshold, kind of like the VO2 max. The more lactate that you can efficiently work with, the better off you're going to be. What I forgot to mention is that sink will drain, right? Your body has a way to drain the lactate, which is where, multiple things come into play to be able to drain that. Right now, I've done enough research to give you all the honest methods, but as I go along on this journey, I will learn a lot more about it, and I'll teach you everything I know to teach you. Again, I'm no expert, so don't quote me on anything I say here. This is all based on the research I've done so far. But I do know that lactate is highly important, especially when running. And you need to create things in your routine, in your system, in your workouts, in your training that's going to push that lactate threshold higher and efficiently let your body drain that lactate a lot better. It's just going to make for an overall more efficient and better operating running machine, so to speak. So that's another metric. Another metric that is kind of not really the most important to me, but it is to a lot of people, is time. So a lot of runners and a lot of racers, they push for a specific time rather than a specific distance or a specific pace. For me, I would like to hit a specific time, but it's not the end of the world if I don't, kind of thing. It's on the radar for me, but it's not key. And I could be wrong in that, in thinking that way, but at the current point, that's about where I feel that it belongs. It is valuable to pay attention to it, and it is valuable to try and increase your time and increase, kind of like your mileage. You want to hit lower times. So, running my 5K, obviously I want to run a faster type 5K. I want to hit a lower time. If you're running a marathon, you hear people say, like, I want to hit a sub 20 or a sub 230 or whatever. My goal ultimately in this 5K, at the pace that I'm aiming for, is probably going to be about a sub 21, maybe even a sub 20, which is pretty hard to do. We'll see if I even get there, but that's the goal, right? So what else am I doing as far as my actual workouts? I am incorporating more running, right? Obviously, in order to be able to do the 5K, I'll have to run more, right? On top of all of that, during my training, I will be incorporating some other elements of aerobic exercise, such as cycling and swimming. It's a good way to get your heart acclimated to other environments. On top of that, it's just a way for me to kind of incorporate more cardiovascular exercise without overdoing the running. Gives me kind of, some variety in a way. I am also not abandoning my strength training. So I'm basically going to tailor my strength training to fit the running. So what am I doing to track all of this? First thing I'm using is the Garmin Instinct 3 watch. So I bought this sucker to basically be my second brain. This thing measures everything from your VO2 max to the distance to pace it measures everything. Your sleep, your stress. This thing is basically going to keep track of everything for me so I don't have to. It'll also let me know my progress. Another really, really cool feature about this watch is it has a coach on there. So basically I'm going to let this thing coach me and let me know. It'll basically tell me, like, hey, today you need a rest, or today would be good to do this, or, that was a pretty high intensity exercise. Your body should probably not do another one tomorrow, kind of thing. So that's a good way to kind of just see where I'm at. And keep myself accountable and keep myself on track. So that's basically it. That's what I'm using. And the second thing is the social media aspect. So I'm putting my milestones on my Facebook and Instagram if you want to follow along. So basically, these milestones are trackable goals. They're measurable goals, things that I want to accomplish, levels I want to get to, right? And if I don't get there at the month that I'm supposed to get there, that's okay, right? Really, ultimately, it's just something for me to strive towards. And then as I accomplish them, I'll mark them off and move on down the list, right? But it also helps keep me motivated because I can see where I've been, how many milestones I've actually accomplished, right? It's a motivating factor. Plus, by posting it on social media, not only can you follow along, you can also see, where I'm at and help encourage or if you're one of the haters, you can help hate, right? So, that's the key factors of how I'm kind of just keeping things on track. And I'll try to update more as we go along. So this episode is going to be the first of many. I'm going to keep, like I said, this was beginning. This is a series. So I'm going to try and maybe once a month post an update, kind of let you guys know how it's going, what's going through my head, how I'm feeling, how my progress is going. So I highly encourage that you follow along. Kind of just be inspired by what I'm doing. And I challenge you to do one of your own. This is a new year. It's a perfect time to do it, right? New Year's resolutions. So take that for what you will. So some final thoughts to kind of leave you with. one of the key things that I believe is very important is you need to understand your limitations, right? You got to listen to your body. If I'm at a level, if I'm pushing too hard, my body will tell me, right? I will strain, I'll have injury, yada, yada. I wouldn't say push till you have injury, but you got to know how far you can push. As it stands, I cannot bench 250 pounds, right? But I have been able to bench around 135, which may not be huge for some people, but for me, that's about the maximum that I could push, right? Because I've done it and I've walked away from it without injury. My body is acclimated. Any higher than that, and I would have hurt myself, right? It would be too much. Any lower than that, and it wouldn't be enough, right? You got to find that level. You got to find that middle ground. I highly encourage that you got to know your limitations. And one of the interesting things about this, I'm really not running this race to win this race. My mentality is not of I have to win, right? My mentality is really I want to complete this race. So that mindset is kind of a way for me to take off the pressure of winning and increase the courage that I can do this, right? If I go in there not expecting to win, but wanting to, but not expecting to, right? Then I don't have as much pressure. My confidence is a lot higher. I can manage the stress a lot better, and ultimately I will perform a lot better because I'm not trying so hard, right? Winning would be great. It's a want, but it's not a expectation. So, it's just kind of a way to change the way you think a little bit so that, you don't put too much pressure on yourself and create goals and create expectations that you can't meet, right? There are things that you cannot do, just the bottom line. And understanding those, like I was saying earlier, understanding your limitations, understanding those will help you be better. Ultimately, also, too, if I do win, right, then how much more of a reward will it be if I wasn't trying to win, It's just a whole different feeling when that happens. And disciplines, what you learn along this journey is ultimately going to bleed into other things. The challenges and the struggles and the overcoming, the successes, the milestones, all of that is going to play into other disciplines. Disciplines bleed into other disciplines. So ultimately, you're going to improve other areas of your life by doing this, right? By pushing yourself, by challenging yourself. You're just going to be better off overall, and you're going to learn more. You're going to grow more. And my whole thing is, if you never challenge yourself, you'll never grow, right? The Bible challenges us to be more like Jesus, grow. We need to grow. We need to improve. Staying where you are is not fun, right? I've been there. I've done that. It's not the ideal, right? You want to be better. You've got to push yourself to want to be better. And you've just got to get up and do it. At some point, you just got to say enough is enough and just do it, right? Challenge yourself. This whole thing that I'm doing, the whole 5K, the race, the journey, the social media, everything about it is to push myself and to challenge myself to grow in areas that I'm weak. That's the biggest key factor. So find out what it is that you are weak in and create challenges, create things to help you grow past that, learn, be a better you. So if you found any of this inspirational, please let me know. It encourages me, and it also helps, the channel. Also, this new season, I really want to emphasize the community. I want to hear from you. If you've got some input, some things you want to talk about, let me know. If you want to get interviewed, let me know. I'm all for it. This is a new thing, so thank you for joining me on this new episode in this new series, and I'll just challenge you to stay motivated, stay encouraged, and never stop chasing greatness. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening. Remember, in the pursuit of your dreams, hesitation is the enemy. Slam your foot on the gas and go full speed towards your vision. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep striving, stay inspired and motivated, and never stop chasing greatness.